Humanity has always been defined by its greatest achievements. The first time we stood on two legs, the invention of the wheel, microwaved burritos. Yet, everything up to this point pales in comparison to mankind's most important feat. The birth of Shigeru Miyamoto. Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Sherwood, and today we're going to take a quick look at Shigeru Miyamoto. We all know of Shigeru Miyamoto, and if we don't, we know of his work. He's responsible for some of the biggest classics, like Super Mario Bros. Or The Legend of Zelda. But to understand how such a great mind works, we need to take a look at his past. Born in the small Japanese town of Sonobe back in 1952, a young Shigeru used to like to explore the caves and rivers around his house. He says a lot of his inspiration came from the explorations he did as a child, because the sense of wonderment and discovery was something that he wanted to give to others. After graduating with an industrial design degree, no job seemed to be lining up. Instead, his love for manga of all things got him interested in doing art development, and after playing Space Invaders, he knew he wanted to be in the video game industry as well. This would lead him to a little toy company called Nintendo. Nintendo wasn't always a video game development company. Instead, they made toys for kids. This is how a young Shigeru got his first start. He developed a lot of toys for Nintendo before being assigned as artist for one of their earliest electronic games, Sheriff, back in 1979. Around that time, Nintendo was also trying to release a game called Radar Scope. They had already created all the boxes for it and shipped it out when they realized that no one was buying. This left them with a huge financial burden that they had to turn around somehow. So, they turned to Miyamoto. Surprisingly, Nintendo didn't turn to him because they thought that he could save the company. In fact, Miyamoto sighs to himself when he recounts that he was just the only one available at the time. And yet, he ended up creating what would give Nintendo their brand new face. Nintendo released Donkey Kong the arcade game in 1981, with an emphasis on the North American audience because that seemed to be where video games were booming. While there is a lot of controversy on where the name Donkey comes from, most sources seem to point towards it meant stupid or stubborn ape. But one way or another, this game was a massive success, earning $280 million and making a huge name for Miyamoto. This was but the first of many wins in a long, successful career. So now we get to the point where everyone really started to know who he was. He invented games like Star Fox and Super Mario World, the Zelda series, Pikmin, the list goes on and on. But this is the list I made for this slide. Pretty cool, huh? Moving on. One after another, he was knocking games out of the park, winning awards and setting milestones for all developers around. He won such things as 60 Years of Asian Heroes and Top 100 Most Influential People of 2007 and 2008. In fact, a survey showed that 30% of all developers consider him their ultimate development hero. He even won the Person of Cultural Merit in 2019 for all of Japan. To say he had a mild impact on the industry would be an under-exaggeration. His critical praise is known by almost everybody. He's called the Father of Modern Videogames and the most influential game creator in history. And people have even said he almost single-handedly rescued the video game industry, which is not that much of a stretch. It was games like his that helped steer the industry out of the video game crash of 1983, and he continues to set the bar today. While he may not be the lead design in his games nowadays, he is instead a creative fellow for his company. Many Nintendo presidents rely on him for his creative mind and his keen insight into the industry and into games as a whole. That's why he's generally the producer and executive producer of a lot of the games that he works on, and he's also the Entertainment and Analyst Division General Manager. But so what? What's the point in learning all these things? I think it's important to take note of someone with such an influential career. Over his years, he's developed a philosophy towards game development that everyone can learn from. While he does have a couple specific ones, like don't follow trends and he doesn't like microtransactions, some of the more philosophical ones are things that people should note. For example, the concept of kyokan, or emotional connection, is how he feels that he should, as a developer, connect with his audience in an emotional way. His philosophies are too expansive and I think too important to cover in a quick 5-minute video, so I think it's important that you take the time to actually read some of his interviews. I'll link below some of the ones that I consider the better ones, and I strongly encourage you to give them a read. It goes into so much more than simple video game practices, but good life lessons as a whole. For example, love your game. It'll show in the final product. And that fun should always be first before any fancy graphics or in-game purchases. You should also be empathetic towards your players. Know what would make you have fun, and they probably will too. Know what would frustrate you, and, well, they probably will be too. Watch out for them the same way that you would want to be watched out for when you played a game. So give it a look, you might learn something. After all, this was just a quick look at Shigeru Miyamoto. Thanks for watching.